Hi, I'm Ted Haptegaber, founder and producer of Live Talks Los Angeles. Thanks for joining us. Since we started over a decade ago, we have brought you hundreds of conversations with storytellers, writers, actors, musicians, humorists, chefs, and thought leaders in business and science. You can watch and hear most of these in our YouTube channel and our podcast. For details, visit livetalksla.org. And now, here's the show you've tuned in to see.
My best friend here has been traveling all over the United States, and she went out of her way to be here 2 days. She flew in this afternoon to be here for me. It's a lot. That's a big ask of someone to like, can you just fly across country to profile my book? And you did it. And we've worn matching outfits in the past, but again, today we showed up in velvet. Just
hello.
Twinsies.
Yeah, I know what you like.
I know you know what I like.
I feel like my mic is so loud. Is it?
Are we screaming at
Is
you?
it just that I can hear myself? You sound fine.
She said you're perfect.
Great.
She is perfect.
So much, I will take it.
She's perfect.
You know what's perfect? This book that I clearly didn't like because I dog-eared every single page. I was like, how am I supposed to talk to you about this for 45 minutes? I feel like this could take 4 hours.
But you lived that book.
I know.
Which is weird because of all the people that I've sat with in talks for this book, you were the person that was there for all those chapters. Well, not home in Virginia, but I definitely have told you all the dirt on Virginia.
I've seen the yearbook photos. She was so cute.
She's been in the haunted house, like all the current stuff that I talk about, like loss in the book. Like you were the person that held my hand for all of it. And so I'm so grateful, my baby.
I love you.
I love you. Yeah, all right, so what do we want to dissect, you guys?
Guys, well, here's the thing is your team is so nice and they gave me this like very formal, they were like, just to prepare you, we'll make you a one sheet. And I was like, okay. And then you were like, look at your book, you nerd. Should we just play like dog-ear roulette?
Yeah, let's just play dog-ear roulette.
I want to see what I folded here. Oh, okay, I really like this. So we get to page 58.
Okay.
And you're talking all about working at MTV and how like leaving Virginia it put you in the position to travel a lot.
Yeah.
And that there was something about collecting all of those stories in that era. And I tell her this all the time on the podcast. You're so good at interviewing people because you're curious and genuinely interested in what they like. And I can always see when someone's sharing something with you that like really, she leans in and she gets really, really amped.
I'm farming you for good stories.
Yeah, but you talk here about all those years later realizing that the stories stay and watching George go scream to the monsters on the farm, and you say the only way for a story to live forever is if you start telling it.
Yeah.
And we've lived other people's stories that we've told for our jobs.
Sure.
We've had stories told about us that are not true.
I mean...
We've had stories told about us that are true.
We did that. We did that.
And there have been some stories that we've been like, can't wait to tell this one, and some that have taken us a really long time to feel secure enough to share.
Yeah.
So when you talk about this, what does it mean to you now? As the woman you are now, as the mom you are now, as the professional you are today? Like, talk to me about when you decide to start telling a story.
Well, that's just it, right? So I write this whole chapter about telling stories that are folklore, okay? Like ghost stories that I'd grown up with, or the folklore of my hometown that I've shared with my kids. But it's a metaphor right? Because while I'm writing all of these like folklore stories, and while I'm telling my kids these fables, you and I were in the process of telling our work experience stories for the very first time. And that's our own like personal mythology, right? And so we had to live for a very long period of time with people jumping to conclusions about us or creating narratives about us that weren't true. And it's the tacky thing to do is stomp your foot and be like, that's not true, you know? But thou doth protest too much. And so we just waited, and we waited, and we knew our truths together, and that was enough. Yeah. And so being able to share those truths now as grown-up ladies feels really nice. It's like getting to eat the dessert finally, where it's like, oh God, finally. Okay, it's key lime pie, it's fantastic. And it has made me eager to just be truthful about everything, right? Which I have to temper, because I'm like, calm down. But I think when you tell a truth, when you tell your specific story, you breathe life into it, because it's going to be different than your friend's truth. It's going to be different from the truth that other people experienced in that moment, but it's yours, and it is valuable, and you deserve to honor it. And so, yeah, for people who are reading that and thinking it's just about like ghost stories, cool, but maybe it's a ghost story about you. Maybe it's about a different version of yourself. You know, you and I have been many, many different people. And we've got juicy stories about all of them.
Oh my God. Well, and something I think that's interesting, because you love spooky, is you begin to realize what stories shape you and what stories haunt you.
Whew, yeah.
And it can be scary to tell a haunting, but we've done it, and suddenly you realize there's no monster under the bed anymore.
Well, that's what it does. It's like flicking the lights on, right? If you talk about the scary thing, if you talk about the hard thing, if you talk about the frightening situation that you were in, the more you talk about it, it dispels the monster. And that has been really healing in our lives together, but it also, you know, you get to boil it down and do it for your kids. Now with my kids, I'm like, the more we talk about you being scared of the monster in the woods, the more we talk about you being scared of the bully at school, the more we talk about it, the less power it has. And so I want to encourage people to do that. And if you have to create a metaphor for the rough thing in your life, like, do that. Make up a ghost story. Make up a haunting story. Make up a banshee story. Ooh, banshees are scary, man. And so, yeah, I think that is the origin of a lot of these oral traditions, right? It was like people were feeling fear, and they would share that fear with their neighbors or their families or their loved ones by telling stories, right? Because it's easy. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about somebody else. It's like talking in code. And I think that's a lost art form.
Yeah.
That's why we like movies. That's why we like podcasts. That's why we like narratives and books, because it allows us to take the feelings that we have trouble feeling in our own life and assign them to someone else. And yeah, I mean, we certainly have experienced our fair share of that. Like, oh, you two do trauma well.
And be like, oh,
who, us?
You want to talk about hard things? Okay. I also will say that I think something really interesting of our 20 years together now is that, because look, I mean, y'all, you know us, like, we can be hot-headed.
Who?
Like, honestly, the greatest compliment I've ever been given in my life, probably top 5, for sure. I'm being hyperbolic, definitely top 5, was when Jeffrey was like, yo, nobody goes for people, for my wife, like me, but you. And I was like, she was my wife first, bro.
Yeah. And I
obviously.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah.
They have their own like text thread going at this point, and I'm just like, who are you talking to?
I love that, man.
Oh, Sophia. They're my barracudas, you know? They just like come in and
attack.
Who are
we getting today? But the cool thing about it is, like, we were definitely more hot-headed when we were younger.
Yeah.
Now I think we're smarter. And it is interesting to learn patience about when you tell your story. Yeah. To like let everybody do what they're doing and go, I can outweigh you.
Yeah.
I'm patient, and you have really taught me that.
Long game.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because, you know, we talk about this at length on the podcast. I had monsters in my closet for a very long time that I could not talk about. And that is really frustrating because you're like, can't anyone else see the monsters? Am I the only one? And when you finally tell the truth and you find the other person who saw the monster, and then there's someone else that saw the monster, and all of a sudden you can be together and you're like, great, now we're gonna light torches and get pitchforks. Like we're going for it, right? That's an important step, and I give my kids that same advice. I'm like, take your time. Take your time with how you feel. Take your time with how you tell your story. Take your time when you feel like you're under the microscope. And a lot of this book is about slowing down. It's about slow communication. I talk about writing letters in this book because paper mail slows us down. You know, we need to, we're seeing so much like disinformation and misinformation on the internet right now. And I think it's because everyone wants to be the fastest and the quickest. And I think slowing down is an important thing for us to do in this moment because we want the truth. And the truth takes a minute.
I love that.
It does.
And you know what else I love about, I mean, paper, books, mail, all of it? You can't reread a phone call.
No.
Like, there's something so precious when you talk about the treasure box on the bookshelf, you know, at Hester's house. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember where it sat and the books on the thing. And we were there for so long, like the first editions we'd find and the things we'd collect that filled that out. And those are the things you can pick up and smell and look at. And I'm terrible. I can't give books to anyone because I write in all of them.
Well, that's it. We write in all our books.
All of them.
When we first started working together, JoJo, our hairdresser, pointed out, she's like, y'all just go into your own like little world and you got your pens and you're writing in books. Are you two taking a class together I don't know about? I was like, no, maybe. We just needed to nerd out. There was a point where I was reading Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception, which is all about drug use, so like LSD and stuff. And I was taking it so seriously. And I just remember like Sophia coming up and being like, what are the outlines? You know, like, what are you underlining in here? What are the notes in the margin? And when you do that to a book, you are participating as an audience member. There is something magic about a book because I have heard Alice Hoffman say this. She's like, a book is nothing. It's not a piece of art until a reader reads it. Right? It is the most intimate art form because pieces of art can exist, you know, songs can exist, but a book is only as good as the person reading it. And so that's the kind of intimacy I'm after.
I love it. You're going to love this quote Jed shared with me today. He sent me a picture of text. I still don't know what that's technically called, which is embarrassing. It's the internet
picture
age.
text?
Like, you know, it's a picture of text. It's not a meme, but it's like a screenshot of
those little like scripty
like
pictures.
Instagram poetry shit. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
I love those things.
And by the way, I'm in. Obviously,
we post the shit out of those in our stories.
Really do. And we send them to each other all the time. It's so embarrassing. But he sent me this one that was like, really think about what a book is. You're holding slices of a dead tree hallucinating. And I was like, so Aldous Huxley.
I mean, not wrong.
Not wrong.
And now everyone's doing ketamine treatment.
Oh,
which
hello.
Yeah, I know. We were so
talking about it with my mom backstage, you guys.
Hi, Mommy.
Hi, Mom. She's here somewhere. There you are. Yay. Okay. So actually, this is perfect because on page 115, you're talking about like, yes, placebo effect, fine. But you say, I have a healthy amount of skepticism, even though I do declare that I believe in everything.
Oh, yeah.
How do you hold both?
I think you hold both with great humility. Like, I used to say all the time to Wendy Bell, our makeup artist, on a show that we worked on that we're on strike and we're not going to talk about. I used to say that God has a much better imagination than man. And it's disgusting for humans to think that they know what God's sense of humor is. Or like all the things that he would dream up. Like a fucking platypus, come on. You guys, if there's a platypus, there's 100% a Bigfoot, right?
Yeah.
And fairies and all of the mystical things, you know? Like we deserve the opportunity to be surprised by the world and to find wonder in it and imagination. And this idea that we have all the answers already, wrong. There are aliens. And
100%.
like Mothman's probably real too. It makes life so much more fun when you're not arrogant about thinking you have all the answers and you give yourself over to the freedom to just buy into it, you know? I want to believe that there are all those things because I want to find magic in the world and just the possibility. I don't have to see it, but the possibility that it's there is exciting. But also Bigfoot is real, so.
Yeah. But the chapter you talk about synchronicity, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Like when you start to pay attention and things continue to surface at you, like we're both 11/11 girls.
Oh my God, all day.
And when I'm all day, and when I'm having like a big day,
Yeah.
it's every hour.
Yeah.
It's 10:10, it's 11:11, it's 12:12, it's 1:11, it's 2:22. I'm like, what is about to happen?
Yeah.
Am I gonna win the lottery today? Oh my God.
Today's the day.
That hasn't happened so far, but like,
there's time.
when you start to, and you say it in the book, you say pay attention to what is happening, what's being spoken about, who's talking, who's in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, when I feel like I'm in these moments of synchronicity, I look around and I'm like, who's in my life now more than they usually are? Like, am I seeing you every 3 weeks instead of every quarter?
Yeah.
Are we, whatever it is, I look around and I think, I need to pay attention to this. I may not know what it's going to mean for a while, but I need to pay attention to this. When do you feel like you were paying enough attention to synchronicity that you decided to start to mark it when it happened? Like, was there a year or a moment or a thing when it changed?
Yeah, I haven't talked about this. During the pandemic, right before the pandemic hit, I took notes on my phone. I had a dream where a friend who had passed visited me. And it was very weird. I was in my high school, and there were armed guards everywhere, all over the school. And we were hanging out, and I was like, I have to make this flight to Denver. And they were like, no, you're not going to go anywhere right now, and you're going to sit tight, and it's going to be okay, but it's going to be really, really, really scary. And I had this visit from a friend that had passed, whose birthday is 11/11. And after that dream, I saw it constantly, like constantly. And I was really rattled by it because it didn't feel like a dream, it felt like a visit. And so I just started to be aware of the people who I was talking to in those moments. And it started to be the same people over and over again. And what you find is like athletes will talk about finding a groove, they'll talk about finding a rhythm, right? And they call it flow. And as artists, it's the same thing. It's like all of a sudden you're writing because you're in your flow. You're painting because you're in your flow. You're making music because you're in your flow. I started to find that when I spent more time with the people who were popping up in those synchronicity moments, that the flow, like all of a sudden, like we've got this podcast happening and I'm working on this book and like all of these business opportunities are opening up. But also like my relationship with my husband is so much stronger. And like everything started to flow when I became aware of surrounding myself with magic people that pop up at magic moments. And you're definitely one of those people. Like when we are in the same room, everything is possible and there's nothing that is impossible. And that's, you know, we're filled with so much drudgery in our lives. It's like, okay, we're doing the dishes and we're doing the laundry and we're doing all the boring stuff. If you can open up to figuring out who your magic people are, it really will make everything so much lovelier. Those are the people who are going to be your pen pals. Those are the people who are going to be your confidants. Those are going to be your mischief makers. And yeah, being conscious about assigning people those roles is important.
Well, because that's how you take the synchronicity. It's how you take the awareness that something magical is happening and you put magic back in it.
Well, that's it. Like, if you're just like, okay, cool, 11/11 every day. That's dumb. But if you take something that, like, sure, maybe it's a placebo. Maybe 11/11 means nothing, right? But I have people who consistently check in on me on a regular basis who just happen to show up at that time. That is enough. You know, it doesn't have to be magic. It's consistency. And we've said this on the podcast before, that love is consideration consistently. And so you're finding those people that hold that magic love for you because they're consistent.
I feel like if I was Oprah, I'd be like, tweet it. You know?
Oprah.
You know, I love when she says that.
Does she say that?
Yeah, she'll stop a show and be like, tweet it. And I'm like, she's not wrong. Put it on a bumper sticker. Put it on a t-shirt.
Girl, you need an Oprah show. Come on now.
I'm ready.
Do this.
Okay, wait. Oh, I can't read that one.
No, she's playing.
Well, yeah, because I was like, what's the next one? And I was like, oh, that's the sweet thing you wrote for me. I put hearts in the margin. I don't need to read it.
I did. I said that Sophia is my activism muse. I think finding muses in your life, in your real life, is really important. I was obsessed with the idea of muses when we were young. Probably because I was hanging out with a bunch of musicians. And I was like, I can write a song about me.
She was like, oh my God, am I going to be your muse?
Dude. Hey, there's Liz Arnois, Shelly.
Hi, cutie.
Hi, my angel. Yeah. I had this idea that being a muse was like really sexy and cool. And then I was like, wait a tick. I don't want to be someone else's muse. I want to be my own muse, and I want to have muses. I want to have people that make me want to be better. And you are absolutely one of my muses, because I don't know how you fit all the stuff you do into a day. Like, you're in Detroit, you're in New York, you're like across the pond doing all sorts of stuff, and you're always helping people and building other people's businesses and putting real thought into activism and supporting other people, and then you also manage to have a career of your own, which is batshit to me. I'm like, if I can get the dishwasher started.
I think it's just like real bad ADD, but thank you.
Oh, good. Hey, listen. That's one of those magical thinking things where, like, you could label it something negative, or you could say she has superpowers.
Yeah. I'm like, I could be medicated, or I could do all these things at the same time.
Oh, God, I love it.
Okay. Actually, this is perfect. Because this is something we've talked about, the way we used to use phrases to undercut ourselves.
Yeah.
She knows mine. I'm not going to tell you all.
Yeah.
Not yet. But you did used to say this all the time.
I still say it all the time.
Tell them.
Guys, I make poor choices. All the time. And it's fine. I've done okay making poor choices. But I make really poor choices. And when I met Marky Post, is Kate here?
I'm here.
Yay! Oh, I love it. Marky's daughter is here. Listen, Sophia and I only got to play Marky's Daughters on TV, and we were so jealous of you guys, because with all the fairies and like all the fun stories that she told us about you guys, you know, that was just a life that seemed magical to me, and your mom was such a light. And so when I told Marky Post I make poor choices, she burst out laughing and was like, oh my God, I love poor choices. And that's how I knew that I'd like found my woman, you know? And so, yeah, your mom made me a pillow that said I make poor choices on the pillow. And it's like in my house, my children are like, Mommy, do you? Yeah. But I see so many people with the artifice of social media really trying hard to pretend like they've never made a misstep, or that every choice they've made is great, or that they're always on the best vacation, or they're making the best sourdough bread, or whatever. Like, perfection is not for me. And if anything, I wrote the whole book, Rural Diaries, about being a failure at so very much. And I feel like a lot of people connected with that because there's fun in failure. It means that you tried something new. It means you tried something out of the box. And sometimes poor choices, like running away with a man that you barely know and having a baby with him after knowing him for 3 weeks, is like a great idea. It's worked out.
Honestly, I loved it.
Yeah.
Because I was in.
Yeah, she was.
In.
The next time I saw Sophia, we just sat down at a bar and we like closed the place down. And I remember we were like seated on the bench
We were like,
this.
okay, so what's next?
What's next? Getting out of this place. Yeah, poor choices are so fun. Because at the end of the day, when we're all in rocking chairs, and I would say with gray hair, but here we are. But when we're nice and geriatric and we're thinking back on our lives, are we going to be like, wow, I'm so glad I was so conservative in my choices?
Yeah.
Or are we going to be like, I was bad? Like, we were bad.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
It was great.
Oh, it's so much more fun.
And so many of the things we are a little bummed about now are the things we didn't do.
We should have kissed everybody.
I know.
I know.
What were we thinking? Jesus.
Yeah, we did. We did okay, to be fair. But no, I wish, because we both had good girl complexes. Like each one of us was like, well, I was a virgin till, you know, like we were trying so hard to be such good girls. And what we didn't realize is that our worth was not in how obedient we could be. Our worth was not in how subservient we could be. Our worth was not in playing by the rules. Our worth was our ideas, our ambitions, our energy that we give to other people. Like, that's our worth. And so only realizing that in, you know, the later part of my 30s, was I able to just go full witch and like, just give in to it.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Yeah. It feels nice.
Yeah, we don't care.
No. There's something so special, and it took me longer, but I think there's something so special about going, wait a second. What happens if I stop saying like, oh, thank you, sorry, I didn't want to be in the way. I didn't want to like ask for too much. Is everyone else okay? For your whole life, and going, well, what do I want?
Yeah.
What do I need? It's a shift that sounds small, but it's monumental. And you encourage that in the people in your life. And when you talk even about the first book, Nia said something to me in Detroit this week. My God, like my friends are so smart, look at them. And my other best friend who lives in Detroit, all my best friends live so far away from me.
Yeah, we just need to start a compound, babe.
I'm working on it.
We need to make it easier on Sophia.
But we were talking about this idea, and someone asked a question about failure in small business.
Yeah.
And Nia was like, I don't talk about successes and failures anymore. I talk about wins and losses. Because everyone goes through loss in their life, and everyone has days when they win, and they're just facts. They're not actually about you. And I was like, tweet it.
Yeah.
And like, even that, this idea that you can wrap yourself in your wins and your losses and your confusion and your clarity, and all of it goes in the grimoire. Like, all of it goes in the pages of the record of your life, and you wouldn't be who you are without every single thing that's ever happened to you.
Well, so I talk about Ulisses a lot in this book because I grew up on Ithaca, and I've got a big, huge hip tattoo that says Ithaca. And Ithaca was Ulisses' home that he left to go fight the Trojan War, and he was gone for 20 years, and all he wanted to do was get back to this home. But he gets there, and it's not necessarily the home that he left, right? It's never the home that you left. And this idea that you could still come home to it and it's like a valuable thing, even though it is different, is important. But the bigger thing for me was understanding the hero's journey and how forgiving we are when we're reading books or we're watching TVs and our heroes stumble and they make a poor choice and they backslide, and we root for those people even in their losses, but we don't do it for ourselves. So in writing your own grimoire, you are the hero of your own little Ulysses story, right? And you're honoring your losses in your grimoire in a way that makes them maybe hurt a little bit less, but also it allows you to celebrate your wins in a really triumphant way, because you're not seeing them isolated. You're seeing them as the culmination of this big, huge 20-year journey you've been on. And so, yeah, I mean, I was back home in Sterling, Virginia, just this past weekend. I was there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it is 100% different than how I grew up. And it was scary to me because I didn't know how to drive around my community. It was like 9,000 people when I went to school there, and there's 30,000 people in my little town, but like 200,000 in like the greater area. So it's unrecognizable. And yet, at 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night, after I'd worked all day at my high school, like signing pictures and stuff, I'm out with the football team and the metalheads and like the cheerleading squad and like the good girls. Like we were all out doing shots. And I was like, home is completely gone, but it's still here, and I wouldn't have been able to celebrate that if I hadn't left for 20 years. That night wouldn't have felt so magical if it hadn't been such a journey to get back home to that spot. And so that's what I want people to have for themselves. Like, seriously, writing it down is what they tell you to do in therapy. We're just calling it something magical.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
I mean, therapy's pretty magical.
Yeah, it is. You can tell someone your feelings and they make you feel nice about it. I love that. Yeah.
Okay, so what feels like you did the first book?
Yeah.
You've helped inspire people to collect magic. What feels like the next hero's journey to embark on? You went home to Ithaca.
I did.
Like, where's the boat going now?
Well, you know where the boat's going now.
Well, I mean, I know.
Yeah, she knows.
Okay. I wasn't gonna.
She knows where the boat's going now.
I was giving you the opportunity to tell them the thing you want to tell them.
There are things that you and I both loved as young people. Stories that you and I both loved as young people. And in this phase of my life, teaming with my work wife and like telling stories that matter and making things for a new generation of young people is very important to me. Because I look at the content that's on TV and I'm like, do I want George watching this? Like, what's practical magic for my daughter?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Oh. Like, there are certain touchstone things. Like, we were so excited to go to Wilmington, North Carolina, because Empire Records was filmed there. And, oh, God,
it was Rex Manning Day.
Rex Manning Day. And so I think this mix of writing and telling stories and empowering other women is really important. And so it becomes... like, this is solitary witchcraft. You're working on your grimoire all by yourself. Like, good, good, good. That's the right first step. And then you build your coven, right? So, like, who's in my coven? And
we're the like OG coven.
OG coven.
We really are.
I have that picture that I drew in the trailer. I drew a picture, I don't even know what year it was, but it was all the women we work with, and I just drew caricatures of every woman around this bubbling cauldron. And I was like, we're a coven. And so that's like, now when people are like, you're a witch? I'm like, where have you been?
Oh my God, tell me about it.
Girl.
Where has everybody been?
Here's to being obvious.
Oh. We brought drinks, obviously. Okay, so it's a teaser, but it's not an answer to my question. That's fine.
We're going to conjure some shit. How about that?
That's just fine. We've talked about intent. Hold, please. Guys, I told you it was going to be roulette. I didn't plan. Ooh. I want to talk about talismans.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're the best at this.
Look, I love trinkets.
I
yo.
know.
I don't leave the house.
But, like, to be clear, we're the same. Like, we're gentle hoarders. And gentle is being generous. Hilarie and I don't know how to...
No one holds more shit than Sophia.
We don't know how to throw things away.
No.
I'm worse. It's okay.
You are worse.
I'm worse.
But no, I
my
benefit from it.
Every ticket stub, every playbill, people are like, what are you going to do with this? I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
But I can't. But you, thank you.
Yeah.
You ritualize, you make it sacred. Talk to me. I think what I'm realizing in real time, what I'm asking you is, can you tell me what to keep and what to throw away? What needs to stay?
I'm going to validate you. Okay, what's worthy is the experience, right? And so obviously we all hope that we have the best memory forever and that we just remember the things that we do. That's not the case. As I'm learning, as I get older, I'm like, oh, I did that? Weird. I just recently did like a TRL retrospective, and they asked me for old videotapes and like old pictures and stuff, and of course I had it, because hoarding. Yeah. But I hadn't seen it in so long, and I completely forgot whole chunks of my life.
Yeah.
And so for me, if there's an experience I want to remember, I will hold on to the thing. If it's just ribbon, right?
That's personal. That's a personal attack.
It is. My best friend Nick has lived with me off and on for years, and Nick would just like open a box and find all this ribbon and be like, Hilarie, no. No. And so if it's an experience thing, then keep it. If it is not, then someone else is really going to enjoy that, and we're going to take it to Goodwill. Yeah, I mean, look, I save everything, and what was lovely about going home is that all the saving paid off, because for whatever reason, I have been able to remember the names of every kid I went to school with, right? And I think it's because I've got those yearbooks, and I'm not ashamed to say I look at them, damn it. I really value those people that I grew up with, and I remember memorizing the back of call sheets, so I would know like every crew member's name. And now when we go on to other jobs and we see them, I'm like, oh my God, how's your son, Wolfgang? You know, like, that's a true story. I went to work on a job right when the pandemic hit, and there was a man that had worked with us when we were younger, and I was like, oh my God, how is your son, Wolfie? And he's like, he's actually here working. And this kid is a grown-ass man now. It's Jeff Loy's son. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think the hoarding is beneficial. People have vilified it, and part of the reason they vilify it is because everyone, we talk about this in the book, the home improvement shows have destroyed people's lives.
Well, they've ruined...
Right?
They've ruined personality.
Girl, if I
see one more distressed pot.
Oh.
What were you going to say?
I'm saying contractor gray and beige walls so you can work on the resale value of your home. I don't give a shit about the resale value of your home. I don't care. Paint it purple, paint it green, paint it red. Everything in Tree Hill was red.
No, everything in my world was purple.
Purple, yeah. We were color-coded.
I was pissed.
But this idea that that everything is like supposed to be beige and gray and really simplified really bothers me. And part of that is decluttering your home so that the resale value, is high and that's easy to sell in the future. You can't be in a relationship worried about the exit, right? And you're in a relationship with your home. You got to treat that home like it's your woman. And you have to dress it up and accessorize it and treat it well.
Adorn it. Give it gifts.
Bejewel it.
Hello.
Yeah.
Your house deserves rings.
Yes, I'm saying. So yeah, treat your house like it's your fancy girlfriend. That's what I want for you guys.
Well, it's also weird when you really think about it. And this is something we have in our jobs, like the temporary permanence.
Yeah.
You're going to pick up and move somewhere, but every year they're going to tell you might get canceled. So every year you're like, do I pack up my apartment?
Don't commit.
Oh, and then they keep you. So you go home for the summer and you tell your friends you can go to their weddings. And then, yay, but also shit, your show gets picked up, so then you can't be in anybody's wedding and you go back to your show.
Yeah.
And you're always kind of like, do I settle here or do I not? And it is a very disconcerting way to feel. It's like one of the weird side effects of working in the circus. And reading that chapter in the book, I was like, what a weird thing that we've encouraged people to feel temporary in the place where they live.
It's supposed to be the most sacred place in your life, right? This is where you do your own like personal work. It's where you bring your loved ones. Like, it's your church. Why are we paying it? Contractor Gray. I can't.
I'm like, well, are you moving out like tomorrow?
No.
Because if not, maybe enjoy your house.
And by the way, I am a huge fan of removable wallpaper. The
I know
weirder,
you are.
the better. The background on our I finally got an office like an adult with gray hair at 41 years old. And I was like, I'm going to put up some wallpaper. And I got the loudest, most eccentric wallpaper I could. Yeah, because we live once. Like, make it colorful. Color matters. Says the two girls dressed all in black. You don't know what we're wearing underneath.
Listen. Okay, I'm back on the talismans. Hold, please.
Yeah, oh yeah, talismans. But yeah, you should fill your house with talismans.
Yeah.
Like, I have evil eyes all over my house because my best friend, Sherigim, is Iranian.
I might need one.
Oh, yeah, I've got two for you.
Thank you.
I'm giving you that right now.
Look at that.
See, never leave home without one. You never know who needs one. Yeah, filling my house with talismans is really important. And my husband did our book tour stop in Poughkeepsie, and Jeff didn't realize that I have altars all over the house.
Wait, he didn't know?
No, he was just like, she likes crystals. What do you want? And then when he read the book, he was like, oh, wait, no, I get it now. Like, that's what those are?
Like, that's a depot for magic?
Yeah, I'm like, Jeff, there's like a deer jaw there and some crystals and some candles. What did you think it was? He'll get there.
I love him.
I know. You two are so in love. Jeffrey loves her so much.
He's like the big brother I never got to have.
That's it. And you guys give each other shit. Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's really fun.
He can be in the coven.
He can be in the coven.
He pretends to be above it, but he also has taken advantage of my ability to heal burns.
Yeah.
He burns himself all the time, and he'll just walk up and be like,
just the random,
can you fix that?
I don't want to ask, but help me.
Yeah.
I love it. It's interesting to talk about you guys. Like, obviously, there's so much humor because y'all are funny.
Wow.
But there's like deep love. You were willing to take a risk. You trusted your gut, which was hard after we'd been raised as young adults in a place that told us every single one of our gut instincts was wrong.
Poor choices.
Oh boy. And the way that you open the book is something that I love. I talked about it when I posted about it. This idea that you can create your own inheritance, and that an inheritance doesn't mean like how much money is in your bank account that you're gonna leave for your family to fight over, unless you're good at paperwork.
I'm spending it all.
There will be nothing left for you. But like this inheritance of magic that you can make tradition.
Yeah.
If you didn't have it. Because let's be real, most people don't have a perfect family or, you know, Leave It to Beaver life or the Brady Bunch. Like, most people have stuff they have to carry with them and eventually go to therapy for. And I love this idea that you've been really conscious in your family about what you want to create to fill the gaps of what you weren't given and what you want to make just because it's fun.
Yeah.
I just want you to talk to people about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I read a book called Italian Folk Magic. Oh.
Tell me about it.
Are you a little Italian?
Just a wee.
Okay.
Mostly.
Fantastic book. Mary Grace Fon is a Canadian writer, but she comes from a long line of Italian women who would never say that they were practicing magic because they're deeply Catholic, but they're practicing magic. And so she did this whole book about this hereditary magic that was generations deep and so ingrained in the culture. And I struck up a friendship with her, just like being a fangirl on social media. And I was like, what you have is magic. Like, I love that you have this bond with your aunts and with grandmothers and things like that. I'm very jealous of that because it doesn't exist in my family. You know, like my mom's side is like full Dutch. Guys, I have no idea what that means. Like, if there is someone that is Dutch that wants to walk me through my hereditary magic, my birthright, I would very much appreciate that. I just know I sunburn. And so then my dad's side had this like Appalachian magic, but it was incredibly taboo. We did not ask about it. And you know, my grandmother died and no one told me for like 8 years. And so by the time I found out she was dead, I was like, oh no, I'm never gonna learn that side of my family. And for my kids, I had the choice whether I was going to let them have this void, this vacancy of hereditary magic or just an inheritance of culture. You know, Jeffrey, at the book stop that Jeffrey and I did, we joked, but when he was growing up, his dad told him that he was Greek and Hawaiian, and he believed it forever, and he is not either.
Oh, no.
He's Welsh. And
Jeff.
I know,
Oh.
he really thought, like, he thought they changed their name at Ellis Island. So he and I were like, well, God, we don't have any cultural stuff to hand down to our kids. What are we going to dig for, and what are we going to find ourselves? So I knew a little bit about this kind of magic that my grandmother and my dad's side of the family practiced, and so I dug into that. And that's like granny magic of the Appalachian Mountains and powwow magic of the Pennsylvania Dutch, and that felt like home to me because it is one of the only situations I can find, especially in the United States, where women were not vilified for being practitioners of magic or magical thinking or magical healing. They were the heroes of their community, and they were protected at all costs. So I loved that.
I love that.
Like, great. I love that I have that to look to and be like, oh, women weren't picked on in this situation. That's what I want my daughter to have. But then, yeah, I also wanted my kids to have holidays that were just specific to the Morgan family. And so Jeff and I have always celebrated Timmy Nolan Day, which is a bar here. And where is it? Is it in Toluca Lake or Burbank? Yeah. That's definitely the bar where we met. And so May 8th is Timmy Nolan Day. And we decorate like it's St. Patrick's Day and get Guinness. And that's like our thing. And our kids don't know that that's not a national holiday. Right? Like they're gonna meet people later in life and be like, you guys aren't doing Timmy Nolan Day today?
I can't wait.
All right, do you?
But like, actually, what better holiday is there for kids than the one that is the reason you exist?
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, he
what's
legit
cooler?
that night was like, hey, let's start a family. And I was like, stop.
And you're like, oh my God.
Calm down. Okay.
Why not?
Fine. Yeah, so Timmy Nolan Day, guys. You want this. I think it's really important for people to celebrate their own personal holidays and celebrate a personal mythology that they invent for themselves if it doesn't already exist. Like we talk at length on the podcast about the early 2000s where the meanest thing anyone could call you is a poser, right?
Yeah.
And there's this sense in our generation of like, oh, you're making that up, you're a poser. You don't come from a long line of witches. And it's like, fine, then I come from the first line of witches. And that's cooler and more work anyway. I don't want people to feel like they are beholden to the things that have come before them. I want everyone to have the opportunity to invent who they want to be and what they want to pass down. And that includes your own personal mythology. I'm just gonna make some shit up. I talked to Alice Hoffman about this. She and I both used to go into thrift stores and just buy old pictures of strangers, right?
I do this too.
And make up stories.
I have them all over the corkboards in my office, and people come over, they're like, who is that? I'm like, I don't know.
It's Aunt Agatha.
Doesn't he look cool?
Yes, yes. No, I mean, when I lived in Wilmington, my whole house was decorated with other people's relatives, and I would just make up stories.
By the way, the best, because we like old things.
Yes, we do.
You guys, we have antiqued and treasure hunted and thrifted and like wound up in people's barns that are having yard sales everywhere.
Or not having yard sales.
Or just like, hi, we're friendly. We're not super scary.
We're harmless.
The best place I've ever found that we're gonna have to go make a movie in Toronto just so I can take you there. An hour, don't put this on the internet, I'm serious.
Don't
This is just for everyone in this room. I need you to to energetically pinky promise me, because I don't give out like my tips very often. But an hour and a half.
You know this is a freaking virtual show.
Well, now I've started it, so I can't. We're gonna have to cut it out.
No,
I'm gonna
listen.
talk to post.
No, you're gonna Easter egg it. Easter egg it. Just give them a hint, and if they can find it, then they earned it. Ooh, yeah, Swift this.
Okay. I'm not okay. She's so good at it. I'm not good at an Easter egg. I'm just good at honesty. I'll just tell you, the man who runs the shop is 80. He's lovely. He'll be thrilled if everyone shows up. The best place I've ever found to go thrifting is an hour outside of Toronto, and it's literally called Dead People's Stuff.
Stop!
I have a hat. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Internet, you're welcome.
Oh, man.
To the friends I told I would never share that, I'm so sorry.
Listen, we're gonna road trip.
You know, we'll go.
Okay.
How far is Toronto from the farm?
Not far.
Okay, great, I'm ready. I love a road trip. I'll make a playlist. I'll pack snacks.
She will, though. She'll come with a whole fucking, fishing tackle box.
I never go anywhere without snacks, just in case there's a situation. I was a camp counselor. I have to keep other people's children alive. It's my job. This is probably why your daughter's my best friend.
Yeah, dude, George thinks that Sophia is Sophia the First from the cartoon. She just thinks she's grown up, right? And she's like, well, I know Sophia. And the other kids at school are like, do you? She does. Yeah.
I love it.
I know.
I really love it. She sent me a letter recently with little dolls in it, and I was like, I will hoard this.
Yeah, you will. You're going to put that in your grimoire.
Yeah, I keep all of it.
Yeah, she made you presents.
Oh, kills me. Kills me, that little one. Ooh, I'm on the page about the box in the hallway with all the letters in it. See, I told you.
Oh.
It's roulette. I can't promise that it's going to go in a good, this one.
Okay.
That it's going to go in a good order. So I loved this so much that you talk about learning a lesson that you have to open up if you want to deepen your interactions with people.
Yeah.
And that you started to get the kind of mentorship, mothering from Wendy Bell and some of the other women at work who took care of us.
Yeah.
When you opened up and said, hi.
Yeah.
How, I know because so many people talk to us online and we get such great feedback from so many of you, not only about the job we won't discuss because we're on strike, but also from our podcast. And I think such a universal thing that we all go through, that we still go through, that so many of the people in our community go through is a very natural fear of being vulnerable, putting yourself out there. How do I admit what I want? How do I go after more than what I'm offered, but really what I desire? How do I say, I want to be your friend?
Yeah, what a weird thing to say.
No, it's so uncomfortable.
Do you want to be friends?
Do you want to be friends?
Guys.
How you talk about how magical it is when you open up.
Yeah.
But how do you do it?
Yeah, it's risky, man. It's risky. And there was recently a young woman who came to an event in New York, and she was like, I don't have any friends that like the same things as me, right? Like, I want to get into more of this spiritual talk. I want to sit around and like have girlfriends that want to discuss this stuff. I want to learn this from people. But I'm in college and like my friends just want to talk about boys or, you know, like whatever. And God, that really struck me because I remember us being that age, right? And people had all these preconceived notions of who you were and who I was. And there was not a lot of room for us to explore, even though we were so young. Like we should still be exploring at our age right now, but like at 20, come on now. And so putting yourself out there is so much easier now than it was when we were kids, because there's this magic thing called the internet. Social media allows you to put in #witches. And like, do you know what I mean? And like find some people. And I think that that's a really easy, nice first step, is to practice vulnerability with like strangers, like anonymous creatures on the internet. And I certainly do that. I mean, when I've reached out to Alice Hoffman or Angela Slatter or any of these authors that I've talked about, and I'm just fangirling, and I'm like, hey, this thing that you said really resonated with me. I would love to know more. Tell me what else to read. I've certainly struck up plenty of conversations with people that way, and also created community that way. And once you do that a couple times, it makes it so much easier to do it in real life. But I also think it's really important to meet people where they are, right? And so if there's something you're wanting to cultivate, whether that is like a spiritual community or friendships of any kind, opening yourself up and putting yourself on that person's turf is important. It is a show of support. And it's really easy to always, I don't know, be like, do you want to come to my house? Do you want to do this on my terms? And you experience so much more when you accept other people's terms. And it will push your boundaries and it will push, you know, your ideas. But I have learned so much from showing up on your turf, because it is very different from mine. You know, you have been very good in my life at pushing me outside of my comfort zone, and how much richer is my life because of that, you know? And so, yeah, I think that those situations, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like you tell someone like, hey, I want to know more about you. I want to know more about this. And they say no, they're not the person you wanted to hang with anyway, you know? Yeah, but I also think that the people who are supposed to be in your world will give you encouraging signs. Like, sometimes it's right in front of your face. Sometimes it's like the moms at PTA that are always there. And you wouldn't think like, hey, we're gonna connect and get along, and then all of a sudden, you're doing shots after the fundraiser, you know? Sometimes it's right in front of your face, and so you are responsible for opening yourself up to signs from other people. You are responsible for looking up and for looking around and seeing maybe, you know, you might be so focused on who you want to engage with. Pay attention to who wants to engage with you. You know, let yourself be pursued. I would say that of my friendships, the women who pursued me are still my friends. like you pursued me. Elizabeth put me in a chokehold down in Louisiana and was like, we're going to dinner. And I was like, yes, we are. I like this. You know, I think, but I would have shut that down because I was so insecure, and I was told that women weren't your friends. Don't trust women, don't trust women, don't trust women. And so in my early 20s, it was women like you guys that were like, no, we're friends. And I was like, are you sure?
Really?
Yeah. No, you set the tone.
But I think there's something also kind of magical in what you're saying, is that you can trust that your people, like all of us, like the community that we built that started 20 years ago, the people that are really meant to be in your life will come around pretty consistently until you look up.
Yeah.
Because timing kind of is everything.
Oh, sure.
And so I think one of the things we hear from a lot of people in our extended community is that fear that they're going to miss it, that maybe it's too late. And the book really is, it's about magic and it's about mischief, but it's also about holding on to your hope, because you get to make it. And it's such a great reminder, like, let the anxiety about maybe I'm gonna miss it go, because what's meant for you will find you if you chill. Make your book.
Dude, yeah, I really believe firmly that the calmer you are, and that's hard. It's hard for me to be calm.
Oh, for people like us to be calm is hard and weird. It's,
yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that at all.
That first week of July just made us anxious little humans. And I think when we first started becoming friends, we had a lot of the same anxieties, which made us like magnets, but the sides that won't meet up.
We were like,
you know? Oh, God. Yeah. Because you can't be both afraid of the same thing at the same time. And
well, when you don't have the language to communicate it yet.
Yeah. And so especially for women who are conditioned to think that there's a level of competition, or not even competition, but just that there's only room for a couple of us, I really encourage women to bleed all over the dance floor. Like, just share your feelings, tell everybody what you're thinking all the time, tell them what you're feeling all the time, and the right people will be attracted to that. People who are willing to share just as much will be attracted to that. And then people who are shut down aren't the people that you want in your circle anyway. So yeah, just share. And then, you know, like, writing what another woman has taught you in your grimoire that's like a blood oath. Women used to die for that, right? If you learned from Helga how to use a plant to, you know, cure a fever, and you wrote Helga's recipe in your book, not only will you get burned for being a witch, but Helga would get burned too. And so that act of solidarity, of writing another woman's impact on your grimoire, is incredibly important. But it's, you know, it's a sacred thing.
Well, and it's an energetic action in our modern day to remind the world around us that there is space for us.
Yeah. Like,
the greatest lie that a patriarchal society ever told us was that we weren't the most powerful ones in the room. Dumb. They're like, women talking is gossip. You guys should not hang out, because if you do, you'll realize we're all idiots and we don't know what we're doing, and you'll take over. Dang. And we're like, it's time. Yeah. No, we figured out the secret. We were like, hold on, if we go over there. We all go there. It's fun there and not here at all. And that's what we've experienced working together, because it has been so unproblematic and so peaceful and so just fun and also productive as hell. And like, that's such a nice feeling to know that for all the years that I was told it was me, and all the years you were told that you were the problem, to eliminate everything else and be like, oh no, we actually were the ones like getting stuff done and like being sweet about it and making it fun. And so yeah, that realization, I hope more women come to at a younger age. Me too. You know, I feel like the generation above us is like, oh, we didn't get there till a little bit later, till we were empty nesters, you know? We're not that. We're figuring it out a little bit earlier, and the next crop of ladies will figure it out a little bit earlier. And then you guys are in trouble. All 5 of you here. How many boys are here? It's okay, you're safe. Everyone is welcome here. I see you. Is it time? Okay. Yeah. See?
Hi to both of you. Hi. How did you realize that you needed to slow things down?
I started losing my hair. What about you?
Yeah, when I don't sleep, or I wake up with like tooth pain because I've clearly been grinding my teeth, I'm like, something needs to be different.
Yeah, we both had TMJ when we were younger. Remember when we would just have lockjaw in the morning? And then have to do scenes together where it was like, oh, I'm crying. Yeah, your body will tell you. And women are conditioned to work through the pain and, you know, suck it up. And I think it's very important that women honor their bodies and understand that our body is the barometer for everything in our life. And so if it's gone sideways, it's time to make some conscious decisions to do things differently. And not every woman is in the privileged position of being able to make those changes. And so if you are, you have to make yourself healthy and make yourself right so that you can help another woman who maybe doesn't have the same tools that you have. But yeah, dude, when you start breaking out and losing your hair and just everything's gross and you don't feel hot, getting slow helps you get hot.
Yeah.
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 Thank you. Yeah.
Hello, how's it going?
We're great.
I watched you guys for years. Thank you for doing this tonight.
Oh, thank you.
But my question was, is there going to be a companion to this, like a spell book or a cookbook or anything?
Oh! I mean, per my contract, yes. Thank you, Harper One. Yeah, no, I feel very lucky that my publisher has been really open-minded about all the things, you know. When I took them Rural Diaries, it was supposed to just be a book about like funny farm stories, and then I wrote a book about infertility, and they were like, that's cool. And then when I brought them this, I was like, I'm gonna write a fun little spell book. And then all my friends died, and I was like, never mind, I'm writing a story about loss and keeping your head on through all of that, which is the real magic of life. Like, how do you deal with tragedy and not absolutely lose your mind? And that's what magic is. And so they were wonderful about letting me really pivot this book because what I was living was very different from the pitch document that I turned into them. And so in terms of building out on Grimoire Girl, they're very supportive of that. And I think that seeing the feedback from people who have read it also means a lot to them. You know, when they invest in me as an artist, seeing that feedback is really important because they know that people's lives are being changed because they are softening and they're opening up. And coming out of a pandemic where everything was a hellscape, we're all trying to collectively make things nice, you know? It's why you see little girls sharing friendship bracelets and it means so much, you know? That making things nice is a valuable effort. And we want to be a part of that. Yeah. That's been important to us since we were little.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, right here. Oh, my name is also Sophia. I'm a very, very massive fan. So hello. My question is, have you ever, or what do you do when you ever feel disconnected from the universe and from the magic that you feel? Or what advice do you have to people who are struggling to get connected to the universe and the magic in the world?
Yeah, I mean, for me, ritual is so important. I get frustrated. I grew up in a house where like losing your temper was pretty normal, and I didn't necessarily want to keep being that person. I mean, Sophia can tell you, I'm a hothead. I was a hothead.
She used to be so scary.
And I don't want to be that. I want to be cool. And so instead, I really like candle ritual, and it's not lost on me that there's a lot of candle ritual and ceremony also in organized religion. You know, if you go to Catholic Church, you can go and light a candle for somebody. If you have little altars at home, you know, lots of world religions use candles as just a way to meditate. And for me, it's been really helpful to have that tangible thing where I can watch the candle burn down. I can see this transformation that's happening and feel a shift in my own energy. It's a timed meditation, really. It's the same as like if I had a little, you know, glass timer. And I also think that there are things you can do to add to it. Like I write about in the book, for me, there's a practice where you can use a pin, and you put a pin in the candle as you're manifesting whatever it is you're hoping for. And it's almost like one of those magic 8 balls, where if the pin drops, if the candle burns down and the pin drops, it means that your manifestation is going to happen. But if for whatever reason, like the flame goes out or the wax melts in a weird way and the pin gets stuck, it's like, baby, it's time to pivot. So for me, I really like that physical thing because even as I'm bebopping around the kitchen and that candle's burning, I constantly check in with it, and it allows me to put a timer on my own emotion, whether that's frustration or grief or anger or any tough emotion that I'm dealing with. It's just a timer on it. And it also really freaks my husband out when he comes in the kitchen and there's just candles lit. And he tries to figure out by the color of the candle what exactly I'm trying to do. Sometimes that's enough. Feel me? Yeah, it feels cleansing. And then I'm also the lady with incense sticks around the house.
Hi, my name is Gina. I just want to say thank you first. And about being vulnerable, my question's coming really quick, but I made a friend yesterday and I brought her here today.
Oh,
and we were vulnerable yesterday for 4 hours. I just wanted to shout out you guys for saying that.
Friend! Man, that's awesome.
I appreciate it. But I wanted to ask really quick, what is the first thing that you do when you realize that you are not being kind to yourself? Like you're being hard on yourself. Is there something that you say or do to bring you back?
Oof. Yeah, I can get very frustrated with myself. I write in the book about writing your own eulogy, right? And what that is for me is a running tab of all the things that I've accomplished, and they're not necessarily professional, but all the things that I've accomplished that felt like a crazy story, like the kind of story that I want told at my funeral. And I've been doing it for 20 years. And in writing my own eulogy and keeping this list of just like rando stuff that I thought was either hilarious or really daring or fulfilling, that is probably the thing that I use most in this book. I come back to it over and over and over again, and I can be like, all right, well, I totally screwed this up. Like, there'll be nights where my family has all different dietary needs. There'll be nights where I lose across the board, where I just screw the pooch. And I'll get so frustrated. And then I'll remember that, like, I danced on a tabletop in Paris with a snake around my neck. Like, I don't care about dinner. You know? And so maintaining that sense of humor is important, and having a tool to go back on is incredibly helpful, because we don't have perfect recall. When we are in the depths of frustration or despair, we're not reliable reporters. So that's why having things written down is really important, because this becomes your reliable reporter. You get to write in it during your high moments, so that when you are low, you have this cheerleader that's you, right? And who better to cheer you on than yourself? I want everyone to be just a little bit of a narcissist.
Healthy ego.
The fun parts.
Yeah.
Not the toxic
But
stuff.
what you're also talking about is like a rebalancing of the seesaw.
Yeah.
Because when you're like in the thick of it, you just think like, I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Everything's bad. And one of the women who really mothered us in Wilmington, JoJo.
Yeah.
She was our hairdresser. She was our older sister. She was just the best woman. I remember having
She's the woman that taught us to walk around with paper cups.
She sure did. We were like, okay,
Right.
assignment, understood. But JoJo, I remember one day when, we were in the trailer in the morning and talking about life, and I was like hemming and hawing, venting about just every mistake I'd made and why everything was going wrong. And JoJo spun me around in the hair chair and grabbed me by the shoulders and said, you watch your mouth, you're talking about my best friend like that. And I went, oh. Because I would never, clearly, I would never allow a person to talk about you.
Oh, yeah.
The way I was talking about myself.
Yeah.
And I would think that's true for all of us.
She really wouldn't. She would destroy them on the internet.
I've done it. And I'll do it again.
Many times.
Proudly. Come for me, I dare you. But I also think that as you lean into a practice like this, like the kind of lessons that Hill is giving us to, you know, create these years and decades of a life that you can pick up and read through. Like a week in, you might be like, I don't know, my list is pretty short. But a really good way to come back into your body is to be like, would I let anyone talk about my best friend like this? If I were my best friend, how would I talk about her? How would I demand other people acknowledge her and respect her? And I think that that's a really healthy thing to begin to learn. Because I'm like, ooh, I am the first person who's like out with a flamethrower in a 4-wheel drive if she's in trouble. And if I'm at home, I'm like, I don't know.
I deserve
and
it.
You have to like bring your ride or die self for you also.
We talk about that in the book. Like I talk about like writing love poems to yourself and just making a list of like all the things that are good about you. Especially as women, we're conditioned to have kind of this Midwestern sensibility of, oh, don't pay me that compliment. I got it for free. It was in a box, you know? Like, don't do that. Like, build yourself up. You deserve it. And we're not of the generation anymore where we have to be passive. You know, be bold. And then the right people will come along for the ride. Yeah, your new friend. Hi, new friend. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
My question is, looking back over like the last 10 or 20 years, was there ever something that you feel like you didn't have the insight or the like integration, like shadow self, light self, to put in a grimoire, but now you feel like you do? And if so, what do you feel like got you there? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I would have never been bold enough to say I'm putting out a grimoire. Like, I did not come from a background where exploring this kind of thing was cool or acceptable or safe. You know, I'm a church girl. And finding the duality in that was a really difficult journey for me, because I was like, well, witchcraft is the devil's work, right? Oh, God. Had I given myself permission to be curious about it as a young person, I would have learned how wrong I was and not wasted so much time. But so often, like magic and witchcraft and all of this like vilification of women, it described witchcraft as women with the absence of God, right? With the absence of spirituality. And what I've found in all of the research that I've done is that it is the exact opposite. When you are the kind of person who honors nature, when you are the kind of person that finds spirituality and divinity in everything, you are so much closer to God than someone that sits in church for an hour once a week. And the women who I have encountered in the witch community are so divine and giving of themselves and curious, because they're not just exploring like pagan practices, but they're also exploring Buddhist practices and Mary Magdalene and her book of the Bible and Christianity in its truest form. And so in this book, I go into religious talk often, because it is my upbringing. And certainly in the Appalachian community and the Catholic community, there is so much faith in magical practices that it is no longer the division of women and spirituality to me. It is the deep tissue that connects our humanity. You know, women who are in practice of witchcraft are the ones who are calling for peace. They are the ones who are calling for love. They are the ones who are calling for connection between people. And so, yeah, I wish I'd known that sooner. I think I was told at a young age that curiosity was sinful, and it is the exact opposite. It's a divine gift that humans have curiosity. And so if we don't employ that, we're spurning a gift that is, you know, a cherished thing. Yeah, I mean, we ask way too many questions. But we're just exercising our gifts.
Hey.
My name is Victoria. Early in your book, you mentioned inserting yourself into families and curating your own traditions along the way. So I was wondering what your favorite tradition so far in your life has been that you've been able to share with your kids that younger Hilarie would be thrilled to see you being able to live out.
Yeah, I mean, I was always so drawn to other cultures. I was very, very lucky that as a young person, I grew up by Dulles Airport, which is an international airport. And you know, who knows Dulles? Okay. Hey now, Loudoun County. And what that meant was that my high school had kids from Africa and kids from the Middle East and kids from Europe and, you know, kids from all over the world. And I took it for granted, you know? I was like, oh, okay, everybody has that experience. And that's not true. And so for me, you know, my best friend in the Hudson Valley, I've got a really good group of girlfriends there. One of my best friends is Shergim Kemp, who was on Friday Night In with the Morgans, and I write about her at length in this book. And she comes from a really fabulous family, and they're from Iran. And so my children have grown up in her home. My son is best friends with her sons. My daughter is best friends with her daughter. And my children love Iranian culture. They love the food. They love the happy birthday song they sing is so much cooler than ours, guys. They love that when they go to Uncle's house, they get money for whatever reason. Like, there's just like, and they eat rice with a spoon, you know? Like, there's just cultural stuff that they're growing up with that would only happen if I was encouraging them to open up to other people. And so I do think that that's part of the coven, right? Your coven should be a collection of people that each bring different things to the table. If you're all kitchen witches, it gets competitive, right? You want a crystal friend. You want, Shergim's the evil eye friend. She's the one who hands out bracelets on the regular, you know, like everyone's got their little niche thing and you want your coven to encompass lots of different skill sets. And so, yeah, encouraging my kids to reach out and make those kinds of friendships is important, but we can't tell them, we have to show them, you know, you have to do it yourself. Because kids will call bullshit on you quicker than anyone. Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys. I mean, so sweet. Yeah, well, look, I feel incredibly fortunate that my ride or die, my sister, could be with me here tonight, because this is a person who I've gotten to make magic with in the past, and that I'm, oh baby, I'm so excited.
Don't do it.
I'm excited to make magic with you in the future, and I see the next 20 years as like better. Ooh. We're just like, doing more. More and more and more and more and more. So thank you guys for letting us be indulgent. And I hope that you write your grimoires and that you find your fellow witches and that you write their secrets on your pages and you take very good care of each other. So thank you.
Thank you.